The moment Judy publicly blamed SHEDEUR Sanders for the team struggles, something snapped inside the Browns organization. For a veteran to shift responsibility onto a rookie, particularly when Judy's own drops and misreads were at the core of the issue, was seen as a betrayal of team values. Trust, already strained by Judy's poor performance, was shattered by his refusal to take accountability.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It wasn't just bad optics. It violated a deeper locker room code that expects veteran players to protect, not target, younger teammates. That breach, more than any stat line, marked the end of Judy's run as WR1 in Cleveland. The fallout has forced the Browns to reevaluate what leadership should look like around Sanders. As they position themselves to draft a top receiver, culture has become just as important as talent. The front office sees this as a turning point, a chance to reinforce a system where growth and unity outweigh ego. Players like Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson represent more than just explosive upside. They're symbols of a new standard. And with Andrew Berry orchestrating this shift, the Browns are putting their full weight behind building a support system designed for long-term quarterback development, not short-term excuses. Judy's time as WR1 in Cleveland is crashing down faster than a dropped pass in double coverage, something Browns fans have unfortunately seen way too often this season. The writing's been on the wall for a while, but now it's basically spray-painted across the locker room. The Browns are done pretending Judy is the solution. According to insider reports, the front office is actively preparing to replace him with a top-tier wide receiver in the upcoming NFL draft. Not supplement him, replace him. And when you look at the facts, it's not just understandable, it's overdue. Let's start with the obvious. Judy's on-field production has fallen off a cliff. He's ranked second worst in the entire league for dropped passes this season. That's not a typo. That's not a rough stretch. That's a full season trend. And for someone who was supposed to be WR1, that's unacceptable. Quarterbacks need consistency. They need trust. And what SHEDEUR Sanders got was a guy who couldn't hang onto routine throws. Judy didn't just have a drop problem. He had a separation problem too. He wasn't creating space. He wasn't winning contested catches. And for an offense built around a developing rookie quarterback, that's a death sentence. SHEDEUR's still adjusting to the speed of the NFL. He needs receivers who make life easier, not harder. Receivers who can fight for the ball, get open quickly, finish plays. Judy couldn't deliver on any of those fronts. But what turned this situation from disappointing to unfixable was everything that happened off the field. Behind closed doors, insiders say Judy refused to adapt to the team's new offensive system, one tailored specifically to support SHEDEUR Sanders' development. That reluctance didn't go unnoticed. Coaches saw it, teammates saw it, and it sent a clear message. Judy wasn't bought in. While the organization was building a scheme around their future quarterback, Judy was fighting it. And when you're the veteran, that's not just a lack of effort. That's a leadership failure. And then came the worst part, publicly calling out SHEDEUR. According to reports, Judy didn't just argue with Sanders behind the scenes. He confronted him during games over mistakes that stemmed from Judy's own missteps. It was already bad enough that he couldn't produce on the field. But then he crossed the line that no WR1 should ever cross, blaming the rookie QB in front of the media, deflecting responsibility instead of owning it. That kind of move doesn't just fracture a locker room, it blows it up. NFL veterans are expected to take heat off younger players. They lead by example. They absorb blame. They support the system. They help bring rookies along. What Judy did was the exact opposite. He became a distraction, a liability. And the last thing any team needs when grooming a young quarterback is a veteran wideout making things worse. That's why the Browns are ready to cut ties. This isn't just about drops or routes. It's about accountability. It's about trust. And right now, there's none left. Executive Andrew Berry has already proven he's not afraid to make bold moves mid-season. He picked up Jamari Thrash when it became obvious the receiving group needed help. And while Thrash wasn't brought in as a long-term WR1, he did something JEUDY couldn't: catch the ball and stay on the same page with SHEDEUR. That pickup wasn't just about a short-term fix. It was a test. And it worked. Now, with the 6th overall pick in the draft, the Browns are looking for a permanent solution. A real WR1. A player they can pair with SHEDEUR for the next 5 to 10 years. 2 names are already on their radar: Ohio State's Carnell Tate and Arizona State's Jordan Tyson. Both are elite prospects with the skills and mentality to make an immediate impact. And both would be massive upgrades over what JEUDY brought to the table this season. Carnell Tate is known for his precise route running, physicality, and catch radius. 3 things this offense is dying for. Tyson brings versatility, speed, and elite ball tracking. Everything SHEDEUR needs in a primary target. Either one could walk in day one and immediately outperform JEUDY. But again, this isn't just about performance. It's about culture, character, accountability. The Browns are going through a reset. They're not looking for flashy names or locker room egos. They're building a roster around values, coachability, effort, and chemistry. They want players who uplift SHEDEUR, not undermine him. And that's why a draft pick at wide receiver isn't just a personnel move. It's a statement. JEUDY's unwillingness to adapt to a system built around someone else says everything. This wasn't just a scheme mismatch, it was a mindset issue. He didn't want to change. He didn't want to fit into a team-first offense. And he certainly didn't want to be held accountable. And that doesn't fly anymore. Not in this front office. Not with Andrew Berry. Teams across the league are following this same trend, prioritizing character as much as skill. You can't just be talented. You have to be reliable. You have to be a teammate. You have to work within the system. And when you don't, you get left behind. JEUDY's public blame game wasn't just a bad look. It was a red flag to every decision-maker in the building. It confirmed what coaches were already feeling: that he wasn't here for the rebuild, that he wasn't here to support SHEDEUR, that he was still trying to play for himself. So now, the Browns are moving forward, and they're not sugarcoating it. Whether it ends in a trade, a release, or a demotion to the bottom of the depth chart, JEUDY's days as WR1 are over. That role now belongs to whoever they bring in next, and based on how Berry's handled this so far, it's going to be someone who gets it. Someone who can make contested catches. Someone who doesn't vanish on 3rd downs. Someone who knows how to shut up and work when the pressure hits. And most importantly, someone who can grow with SHEDEUR Sanders. Because that's the real goal here. Build around a quarterback. Protect the investment. Give him everything he needs to succeed. The Browns aren't just trying to fix the offense, they're trying to stabilize it. That's why this next draft pick is so crucial. It's not just about filling a gap, it's about turning the page. No more excuses. No more entitlement. No more waiting for players to figure it out. The Browns are done hoping guys like JEUDY will magically become leaders. They're going to go find someone who already knows how to be one. And honestly, it's the smartest thing they've done in a long time. The front office recognizes that SHEDEUR Sanders isn't going to develop into a star unless he's surrounded by teammates who want to build something. Not just run routes. Not just cash checks. Build. They want guys who study film, work through adversity, and hold themselves accountable when they screw up. And that's the final nail in the coffin for JEUDY. He had the chance to be part of this new era. But instead of adjusting and stepping up, he doubled down on finger-pointing and dropped balls. Now he's the odd man out. And the Browns? They're not looking back. If you're following this WR1 shakeup and have thoughts, drop them in the comments. Was this the right call? Should they have moved on from JEUDY sooner? Who's your pick at number 6? Smash the like button if you're ready to see a wide receiver who can actually catch the ball. Share this with your Browns group chat that's been ranting about this all season. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because if this offseason's taught us anything, it's that Cleveland is done waiting for talent to maybe show up. They're going out and getting the right guy. And for Jerry Jeudy, that door just slammed shut. And the wild part? This could have been avoided. JEUDY didn't have to be the villain in this story. He walked into Cleveland with a golden opportunity. Be the experienced WR1 on a team building around a young, promising quarterback. Be the go-to guy. Be the security blanket for a rookie learning how brutal the NFL can be. But instead of stepping up, he self-destructed. And not in a dramatic, headline-grabbing, meltdown kind of way, no. This was slower, more frustrating. It was the little things, the dropped slants, the failed routes, the body language after an incompletion that screamed, "Not my fault." The sideline arguments, the quiet distance from a system built around someone else. You could feel it happening in real time, the disconnect between JEUDY and the Browns' new direction. And now, there's no pretending anymore. Everyone, from the locker room to the front office, sees it. This isn't a rough season. It's a complete misalignment of values. The Browns want players who believe in something bigger than themselves. JEUDY made it clear he wasn't interested in being that kind of guy. And now, the entire wide receiver room is about to change because of it. Let's not gloss over the importance of this next draft pick. Because what Cleveland does with that number 6 pick might define the SHEDEUR Sanders era. Seriously, it's that big. You have a quarterback with elite traits and high expectations. You can't saddle him with inconsistency and baggage. You need to hit immediately. No more slow burns. No more potential. You need production, maturity, someone who steps into the huddle and earns respect from day one. That's why Carnell Tate and Jordan Tyson are being mentioned. Not because they're flashy, not because they have viral highlights, but because they're ready. They fit what SHEDEUR needs: route precision, contested catchability, and most importantly, focus. These are receivers who aren't just fast, they're disciplined. They know how to read defenses mid-route. They don't give up on plays. They don't point fingers after an incompletion. That's the kind of receiver you build a new culture around. That's who replaces a JEUDY, not just on the depth chart, but in tone and presence. And let's be honest, it's not just about replacing JEUDY. It's about making a statement to the rest of the team. No one's untouchable. Not if you're underperforming. Not if you're disrupting locker room chemistry. Not if you're throwing rookie quarterbacks under the bus to save your ego. The Browns are drawing a line in the sand, and JEUDY's on the wrong side of it. And while fans are divided about how fast this pivot is happening, one thing is clear. There's no going back. Once a veteran wideout publicly calls out a rookie quarterback, especially when that rookie is the guy the franchise is building around, there's no repairing that trust. Not with coaches. Not with teammates. Not with fans. Even if JEUDY somehow stayed on the roster, the damage is already done. How do you rebuild chemistry after that? How do you walk into OTAs or camp and pretend it didn't happen? You don't. That kind of fracture doesn't heal, it just festers. So yeah, this offseason move isn't just a possibility. It's inevitable. And while there's still a sliver of a chance that JEUDY ends up in a reduced role, let's be honest, he's not going to take that well. WR1s don't become WR3s quietly. Not when they think they're still the guy. And JEUDY clearly thinks he's still the guy. But the numbers? The tape? The locker room tension? It all says otherwise. This isn't a fall from grace. This is the consequence of refusing to evolve. It's rare in the NFL to see a front office actually take decisive cultural action this fast. Usually, teams drag things out. They wait too long. They hope it gets better. But Andrew Berry and the Browns have seen enough. They're not interested in babysitting egos anymore. They're building something real, something sustainable. And you don't build that on top of drama. So now, the attention shifts to the future. What does this receiving core look like post-JEUDY? Well, if the Browns draft right, it could look dangerous. A young, hungry WR1 drafted at 6. Jamari Thrash as a reliable slot or WR2. A clean, focused SHEDEUR Sanders getting real protection, real options. And finally, a receiver he can trust. It sounds simple, but it's huge. Because trust is everything. When a quarterback knows his guy is going to fight for that ball, he throws it with confidence. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't overthink. That trust is what allows a young quarterback to take risks, and that's what turns talent into stardom. JEUDY never built that trust. Not with SHEDEUR. Not with the system. And now he's paying for it. There's a good chance this is the end of his WR1 journey, not just in Cleveland, but possibly around the league. His film speaks volumes, and not in the way you want it to. And when you pair that with the off-field tension, it's hard to imagine another team rolling the dice on him as a locker room leader. Best case scenario, he becomes a reclamation project somewhere else. Worst case, he fades into the background, remembered more for what he could have been than what he actually delivered. Meanwhile, Cleveland, they're finally turning a corner. They've got a young quarterback with superstar upside, a front office that's not afraid to make bold decisions, a clear plan to support their future, and now a chance to fix a position that's been quietly dragging them down for years. This wide receiver reset isn't a gamble, it's a correction. And if the Browns get it right, this could be the move that defines their next era. And now we get to the heart of it. The Browns are not just moving on from JEUDY. They're sending a message. Not just to him, to everyone. This team is shifting, and the days of coasting on potential or draft pedigree are over. JEUDY had chances. Multiple. And we're not just talking about targets in games. We're talking about internal meetings, quiet corrections from coaches, opportunities to step up when the spotlight wasn't even on him. But instead of evolving with the offense and aligning himself with the future of the team, he stalled. Worse, he resisted. And that resistance is what really pushed the front office over the edge. When a wide receiver can't execute the basics, catching the ball, creating separation, keeping calm when the play breaks down, that's bad enough. But when that same receiver starts undermining a rookie quarterback who's still finding his rhythm, that's the kind of behavior that derails a season. The Browns didn't come this far to let a single player pull the entire operation off track. Not again. Because let's be real, the organization knows what dysfunction looks like. For years, Cleveland was defined by it. And now that they finally have some direction, a quarterback they believe in, and a front office that actually makes bold, calculated decisions, they're not letting one underperforming WR drag them back into that chaos. This isn't about scapegoating. It's about standards. The Browns tried it JEUDY's way. They gave him the role. They trusted him to be the veteran voice, the on-field leader, the reliable target in a system that had been adjusted, very intentionally, to help a young quarterback succeed. They gave him time, flexibility, and patience. And what did they get? Drops, arguments, public blame, and, maybe worst of all, division. And that right there is what sealed it. The moment JEUDY went public, criticizing SHEDEUR Sanders in a move that insiders are calling a massive breach of locker room protocol, everything changed. That's the kind of thing that players don't forget. Coaches don't forget. Executives definitely don't forget. When a vet throws a rookie under the bus to protect his own reputation, it tells you exactly what kind of player you're dealing with. Someone who's not in it for the team. Someone who's more concerned with optics than outcome. It doesn't matter what your stat line says after that. You've already lost the room. And in today's NFL, locker room culture matters. More than ever. So what does this mean for the Browns' identity moving forward? It means they're rewriting the rules of who gets to be part of this team. It's not just about how fast you run or how many yards you can rack up. It's about how you show up, how you respond to adversity, how you support the guy next to you. That's why Andrew Berry's focus isn't just on finding a better athlete. It's on finding a better presence in the locker room. Someone like Carnell Tate, for example, known for not only his on-field dominance, but his maturity and team-first mindset. Or Jordan Tyson, a player praised for his work ethic and high football IQ. These are the kinds of prospects the Browns are eyeing because they fit the vision. The front office knows what kind of wide receiver SHEDEUR Sanders needs beside him. Someone who isn't just running routes, but running with him. And yes, it's about chemistry. But it's also about accountability. About being able to look your quarterback in the eyes after a missed play and say, "That's on me." That's how trust is built. That's how winning teams grow. That's not what the Browns were getting from JEUDY. And it's why this move is happening now, before the damage becomes permanent. Because let's not forget, SHEDEUR is still early in his career. Every moment matters. Every practice, every drive, every conversation on the sideline. Those things shape how a young QB learns to lead. And if the people around him are toxic, unaccountable, or just flat out unreliable, that development gets stunted fast. The Browns have invested heavily in Sanders. They see him as the cornerstone. So why would they let someone like JEUDY take a sledgehammer to that foundation? This is what you call protecting the investment. Moving on from JEUDY now, before training camp, before the season starts, before the media narrative snowballs, allows the Browns to reset. Cleanly, strategically, with a real plan. And that's what this is. A plan. Because Barry isn't scrambling. He's not just throwing darts. He already showed his hand when he brought in Jamari Thrash midseason. That wasn't random, it was a test. Thrash proved that new guys can be integrated quickly. That SHEDEUR can click with someone else. That the problem wasn't the system. It was the person running the routes. Thrash may not be the WR1 long-term, but he showed enough to justify bigger changes. And now, with the 6th overall pick, the Browns have the power to make a serious upgrade. One that aligns with their new identity. No more waiting for JEUDY to figure it out. No more hoping that this next season will be the breakout. The Browns are done betting on potential that never shows up. They want results, consistency, and players who don't torch bridges on their way out the door. Because, let's face it, even if JEUDY were to turn it around statistically, the trust is gone. You can't fix culture fractures with a highlight reel. And once a team decides it's done trusting you, it doesn't matter how good your next game is. You're already on the outside looking in. And for JEUDY, that's exactly where he's headed. So where does that leave the Browns? Honestly, in a better place. They're no longer shackled to a failing WR1. They've got a quarterback they believe in, a front office that moves fast, and a top 10 pick that could be used to bring in the next great receiver of the franchise. And if that receiver comes in, buys in, and puts in the work, Cleveland could finally have the kind of offense that sustains. Not sputters. Not flashes. Sustains. The real test isn't just replacing JEUDY. It's making sure the next guy doesn't repeat the same cycle. Because what the Browns are doing now isn't just about fixing a depth chart. It's about changing the expectations that come with wearing that WR1 title. And for the first time in a long time, they're doing it with clarity. So what's your take? Should the Browns have benched JEUDY earlier? Who do you want to see catching passes from SHEDEUR next season? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like button if you've been done with JEUDY since week 6. Share this with a friend who keeps saying he just needs more targets. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter in this Browns rebuild saga. Because one thing's for sure, the team is changing. The stakes are higher. And the tolerance for underperformance? Gone.